Hey everybody, we're going to do a quick test with the Vintage Console EQ. I want to see more what it's doing, and to do that I've got two tracks set up. One of them is just normal, and the second one I've been using the gain plugin to actually phase invert it so that if you just play the two without any EQ, it cancels itself out. Now I'm going to leave this EQ just as it is, but on the inverted channel, we're going to slowly activate a few things and see what it's doing. So, all the bands are turned off right now. It's not set to N. The output stage, the model is set to off. Linear phase for that. So, pushing play. Now let's just turn on the EQ for 1 second, knowing that all the bands are turned off. So we can hear just a little bit there in the higher frequency. So no bands turned on, the output stage turned off. It's still changing the sound just slightly. Now it could be just a small delay that's imperfectly being time aligned, but let's see if we can figure out exactly here. I've got a little bit of this high pull down. So it's a little bit more throughout the overall spectrum. So we know automatically that with nothing else turned on, the EQ just being in is changing your sound. Now let's look at just the output turned on. We have three different things here. Silky. And you can hear just how much more that's doing, even though the drive is set to 0 and the EQ is turned off. When I go to natural instead of linear, that's doing all kinds of stuff. And what that sounds like to me is more of a shift of timing rather than an actual change of the sonic quality, because it got so much louder throughout most of the spectrum. Okay, so it's changing the timing. Let's actually look a little bit now at, for instance, the mid frequency here. Turn that back to off. Put it in. Turn on the mid. 5 decibels up at 3.2 kilohertz. So now you could hear that there's quite a bit of difference happening there. And we can actually test this out to see if this EQ can match that. So I have a band set up. It's already plus 5 decibels at 3.2 kilohertz. We don't know the exact Q setting, so we can just kind of move this one around. And where it cancels the most means it's closest to the Q setting on this. So we have a 0.18. It's not exact, which means that this is probably actually a different shape of Q to a certain extent. And we can type in, let's try 0.717, 0.19. 0.20. Nothing perfectly canceling out there. But you can definitely tell this is approximately the shape of that Q in this EQ. Unfortunately, this doesn't mean a bunch in terms of the actual use of this, but it does show us that this particular plugin is changing the sonic quality. And it's not just doing it in an average way, it's doing it in a much more subtle way in some ways. Okay, I think that this is worth experimenting with the other new vintage EQs as well, but I just want to showcase this one because it makes a really good example of some of the subtleties that this is really accomplishing. Even if we didn't get too far into what the sound is actually doing, we can now see some of the similarities and get a better sense for exactly what's happening here. Okay, Hope you enjoyed this little look at the Vintage Console EQ, and I hope you're having a great week.